Okay, awesome. All right, well, we will begin. Our first agenda item is just to jump right into our public presentations. We do have a number of them today, and we'll go in order. And then at the very end of our meeting, we will open up for any public comment. If anyone wants to read a prepared statement or name their what they wish the focus areas would be for the committee this year, or a specific project that they want to air their feedback on, but we won't have back and forth per se between members of the public and the applicants. Applicants, you have about 5 to 6 minutes for your presentation, and then we'll have about another 5 to 10 minutes of questions back and forth with the committee. And if a member of the public has a specific question that they want to have asked, they can forward those questions directly to Amy Landau, the CPA admin, and she'll be able to share those questions with me. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump right in. Do we have Megan Seiler here for Wistariahurst?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we're gonna start by having Megan Seiler present for the Wistariahurst retaining wall restoration. The ask for this is $264,000. Megan, can you share screen? Do you have that ability?
Looks like it.
Oh, good. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. We really appreciate the opportunity to present this project. I think the public is really, they've been very patient regarding this wall. So in 2022, sections of the retaining wall began on Pine Street began to fail and fell onto the sidewalk. It is creating a safety hazard, and as time has gone on, more sections of the wall began to fail. At present, 145 linear square feet have been identified as critical and in urgent need of restoration. So here are some images of the wall. As you can see, there's missing mortar on the right. Sections of the wall have completely fallen on the left. Sections of the wall have gone missing, and we've got some beautiful greenery growing in there. This is sort of the state that it's in now on the right. It's got buttressing and fencing up to try and protect the space. We have another section of the Pine Street wall on the left, and on the right we have images of the cap granite slabs that have started cracking and separating from the fence line. So thanks to funding from the CDBG funds and the DPW employed Park Group to create a geotechnical memorandum capturing the existing wall conditions and generating a scope of work for review, Park Corps produced 3 options for restoration and informally submitted those options to the Mass Historic Commission for preliminary approval. So they kind of came in and they did a full-on investigation. They did a analysis of the wall and the different materials. And here's the email and the response from the MHC. Concept 1, they strongly supported. Concept 3, they thought that they could support it, but it was the most expensive option. And concept 1 is the most true to the wall itself. So here's the option that was approved. So essentially what they would be doing is putting in a concrete basing, rebuilding the wall as it appeared. There are some sections that could be missing. So their goal would be to get stones that were as similar as possible, replicating the mortar. They would also be putting in some copper piping and or plastic piping, whatever would be approved, to help with drainage onto the sidewalk drainage area. And then they would be putting more grading stone to help the water be able to flow freely. And then they would be putting in some backfill to help support the wall as well. So all that's kind of clearly lined out in here. So basically this project would only be 145 linear feet, which is a little less than half of the wall. I think the wall's around 356 linear feet about. Here's a breakdown of the costs provided by PAR for this work. And the estimate is around 1,800 per linear foot, which is where we get the total of 264,000. As you can see, they've kind of broken down what they expect the prices to come out for different parts of the project. And this is a really challenging project. So they wanted to kind of really break it down to get the best estimate possible. And then here is a full plan of the wall itself that surrounds the museum. They've identified several areas of restoration, but at this point, we really just want to focus on Pine Street and the areas that are the most crucial. And that is it.
Look at that. You still had 2 minutes left. Yes.
Pretty
Good job.
straightforward project, so
Mike, can you show the map one more time? Because I have a map question for you.
absolutely.
So just because I'm trying to hold on to the scale of this project in terms of how much this is doing as compared to the entire wall. So you said that this project will be doing which part of the wall? Like, can you literally show me on the screen with your mouse?
So this is Pine Street here.
Mhm.
So most of the work that's going to be done is the spaces that have fallen and the some of the spaces around where it's fallen. So it's about 40% of the wall is getting done.
Of
So
that one wall along Pine Street.
yes. So the project all around is going to come in at an estimate of around $1 million. Because
That was
eventually,
my next question.
yeah. So that's the estimate that we have. And again, this is all dependent on how quickly we can raise the funds to do this. Because as we know, inflation, the people who can do this work, is getting smaller and smaller, and it is a really complicated project. So my hope is, we can get some of the most critical stuff done while trying to identify other funding sources as well to help get even more of it done. So that's sort of our next step is, doing what we can to shore up what's most urgent, and then hopefully working with the DPW to get more funding secured for the other parts of the wall. Because at the end of the day, the wall's over 100 years old, so it's going to need some work.
Yeah. So I guess one of the questions is this seems more like we're responding to, you know, a sort of an egregious issue, right? Sections of the wall have actually fallen or are about to fall.
Yep.
But it strikes me that this is sort of stage one in a multi-stage project to really shore up the entire wall.
Yeah, and because it's under the historic deed restriction, it's really important that we're very deliberate and thoughtful with how we move forward with this project. Um, and make sure that we shore it up as well as we can, so this isn't going to be a problem for decades and decades to come. Hopefully, in 200 years, the wall will still be in good shape if we can give it a base, have it better grading for the water pressure so it doesn't build up behind the wall like it did, which is why it's pushing out right now.
So last time you were here presenting to us, it was for the exterior work and then also the porch that was collapsing.
Hmm.
Um, and as part of the original application from last year, part of it was an engineering survey.
Correct.
Do we have that completed now?
They have come, they've done their survey. It should be completed any day now. We've worked with that. That didn't include the wall at all. That was just the building itself.
Okay, all right. So that was one of my questions was, is this part of that scope? And the other question is just sort of, I'd love to have you come into the committee to present once we have the report, just so that we can sort of have a sense of the scope of work on the property over time that's, likely to come forward. And I know part of why we paid for the engineering study the way that we did is because it, hopefully allows the property to have additional sources of funding.
Correct.
So does that includes Mass Historic? Like what other sources of funding are you looking at?
So we're looking at the Mass Preservation Projects Fund. That's one of them that we're looking at. Mass Cultural Council has, so Mass Cultural Council granted us a grant to do a lot of the electrical work, a matching grant. So some of the CPA funds, some of the CDBG funds were leveraged to get a Mass Cultural Council Capital Facilities Funds grant. So we have a few options. And again, the money that was supplied to help get the engineering survey done can be helped to leverage for foundation work that's being done on the house as well.
Okay. All right, Michael, I see your hand up. You have a question?
Yes, Madam Chairman. Megan, you say the what you're referring to is 145 feet of critical wall that's actually fallen or in the process of falling away from the structure itself. That's what we're talking about for the $264,000.
Correct.
And that's concept one. That's the one you really is the one you ought to go with.
Yes, that's one that's been approved by the Mass Historic Commission.
Okay, no, that's fine. And the total the the total length of the wall is what, 365 feet, did you say?
Approximately.
That's the whole wall. Cabot
That's
Street, Beach Street,
no,
Hampshire.
that's just Pine Street.
Oh, the 364 feet is just Pine Street.
Correct. That's why this
Okay.
project comes in around $1 million.
Okay, no, all right. How about CBG funds, grants? Would this be eligible for one of the, if for doing Cabot Street, for example, or doing Beach Street?
Yeah, that's entirely possible. And they funded the engineering survey. So that was one of the first sources we went to try to get this work underway. Yeah, we didn't want to, without knowing even how much this was going to cost, there was no way for me to, even come to the CPA because it's such an intense project.
Yep. Okay. It should this be approved? When did you have a prospective starting date that these corporation or the engineering firm said would be a good time to start?
So, I mean, if this got approved, the first step would be getting the bid document together, and preparing that and putting it out to bid. So if it were to get approved, I would want it to go out to bid as soon as possible because people start making their schedules, for spring and summer work to start now, essentially. So to get out to bid as soon as possible would be ideal. And, PAR is more than happy to assist to help write that scope of work. It's basically already written out for us, but, with this study. So the hope is put it out to bid. If we aren't successful the first round, put it out again. Because sometimes it may take more than once to get a successful bid put in, but the sooner the better. And once that bid is secured, then we can move forward with the full contract and hopefully get work underway.
Any idea how long the work will take?
No, none at all.
Okay.
Christopher Gothier, question?
Just a quick question for Meg. How does the process actually go for getting quotes for this type of magnitude of work? I mean, are you geared towards utilizing certain companies as well?
We can't show preferential treatment to any organization.
Right.
So what we do is I work with the procurement office. They put the contracts out to bid the way we have to for
Okay.
depending on, a project of this scope, this would be probably a DCAM certified job. And it has a certain process, has to be put to bid in multiple locations, it has to be advertised for a certain period of time. And they have to submit their secure bids, and then they are presented to us. We open them, and the lowest bid that meets all the criteria is then awarded. But we would have stipulations that they've had to work on historic properties before, they'd have to have experience doing work like this. So it's not that we can just award it to the lowest bidder. They have to meet certain criteria in order to get awarded the job.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Before we move to the next presentation, I just want to also name to the committee that 3 letters were attached in support of this application. One from the Care Center, one from E4All, and one from the Senior Center, all of whom talked about how they used programming and did programming in concert with Wistariahurst, and also talking about the value of the sidewalks and also the livability of having that stone wall working. So just wanted to name that those three letters are there in support of the project and the application. Okay, Megan, thank you so much for presenting. You know that the committee is absolutely in support of Wistariahurst, and we know that this project has been a long time coming. We know that you've gone to a number of different sources trying to get the work done over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me, and thank you all so much.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, is Tom Reynolds here?
Yep, I'm here.
Man of the hour. Welcome. So we're gonna move now to 1B, which is the Korean War Memorial and MacKenzie Plaque application. This is a $10,000 ask from the Department of Parks and Recreation. All right, Tom, you can take it away.
I am experiencing a little difficulty with a PowerPoint right now, so
Okay,
if you give me 1 second.
sure thing.
Here we go. All right. All right, I can't get it larger for the full screen. I apologize. I am doing, I apologize here. The Korean War Memorial Project located in Veterans Park, Hammond Street, as we're going to be applying for the historic renowned MacKenzie wall plaque. I was unsure if that actually got approved by the Historic Commission, moved forward, so I just left that part out. So we'll just be looking for the Korean War Memorial. As we all know, the Korean War Memorial is in Veterans Park, dedicated to the honor of the men from Holyoke who gave their lives from 1950 1955, the Korean conflict. There's 24 individuals on that stone. Veterans Park, a little bit about that. It is owned by the Holyoke, my department, the Holyoke City Parks and Recreation Department. It is locked by Hamden, Maple, Chestnut, and Dwight Street. The city park downtown, it was originally called Hamden Park. Back in 1861, it was given by the Holyoke Water Power to the city, rededicated in 62 to use as an honor for all our veterans in all aspects of war and conflict that we've had over the years. Down in 2012, it was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. Going forward, the Korean War it is registered historic landmark. Let's get the coordinates there. Like I said, it's Maple, Hamden, Chestnut, and Dwight Street. The monument's actually on the north side of the plaza towards Hamden Street. I have a little circled there. On the bottom, I think it's MHF 948. Get that in there for you guys. 948 right there. So we're right in that circle there. We have a bunch in that park, which is wonderful, and we're just trying to bring this up to speed with the others. I'm kind of late to the game on this. The other work has been done, completed before I started, and they are absolutely gorgeous, being redone and refabricated and whatnot. This is just the list of the Massachusetts Register of Historic Places. So the Korean War is on there as the object in Veterans Park with the parcel number 948, Hamden Historic District. We didn't realize that there was so much historic stuff in that area of Hamden Park or Veterans Park. So let's see here. So just real quick, we got existing conditions here. Oh. The front of the stone and the back of stone, you kind of see how the base is set. And this is what we're applying for, is this to get reset. You can kind of see in the background on the other side, we have the Vietnam War memorials back there. They're flush, they're plumb with the ground. There's no water retaining around the base of them. You know, they're nice, they're clean. This one, it's raised. I'm not sure if the headstone was just kind of placed on someone asking on a quick pinch to kind of put some concrete pad down, it's above ground versus being plumb set. It's jagged edge. So we really just want to kind of bring this from the sides, left and right. You can kind of see it just looks awful. It just like that stone was just kind of placed on a concrete slab that really wasn't mixed very well. It wasn't set down flush with the ground, so it's kind of weighting up. So the water, when it rains heavily or the snow, it kind of sits around there. It gets kind of really mucky, and which means that there could be some water coming underneath it. So we don't want this thing to tilt. We want to kind of lean it all. God forbid we don't want it to fall. So we just kind of want to get that set properly, and not only just to function as a more stable piece, but to look the part too. Like I said, the other pieces in the park are absolutely gorgeous. We're just trying to get this to kind of be caught up to speed with what we have there. And finally, a lot of wordage on here. So basically we've used historical gravestone services. I know in a couple projects that I could be saying her name wrong, Tara or Taramara, is going to be working with some hopefully approved projects that are this cycle, but I do know she has worked with other cycles as well. A quote came from her, from some people that said she does great work. She has done other monuments and memorials inside of Veterans Park as well, which is great, as well as some other stuff in the city. So basically the scope will work. We're looking to get the monument to be reset plumb at the proper height, with or without the concrete. We're going to see how easy or how difficult that concrete comes off the bottom of the stone. So they'll prepare it, obviously, to crush rock and loam, compact it so it's a nice, stable base. To provide a good foundation for the monument, and some good drainage, so the water doesn't pool around and or under the monument itself, or the memorial, excuse me, itself. Also in that quote, the monument will be cleaned of the dirt, the debris. It's kind of aging, kind of getting tarnished. It's got some chunks in between the letters. So, and with all the amount of moisture we've had over the past couple of years, there's some moss-esque type stuff growing and staining. So they're going to work on that, scrub it down, obviously using materials that are appropriate for this type of work. All approved by the National Park Service. The compound that they'll be using, she said that they've used at the Washington Monument, and as well as the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. So we know that it's legit material, and we're not going to be stripping anything or doing more harm than good. Basically, a timeline is the work can begin in the spring. Obviously, after St. Patrick's Day that weekend, we have right there, it's a pretty big fiasco there. So, and should be no later completed than the fall. All works performed by the Conservation Codes of Ethics and Secretary of Interior Standards, which I had to find the information for historical landmark. Total scope of cost is about $2,000. So this application ask will be $2,000.
Okay.
Easy, much easier than my last one. So pretty straightforward. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. And there is a letter of support from Michael Falsetti here in the application as well. I would love to hear from any other questions from the committee. Anyone have any questions, or anyone want to vocalize anything? Yeah, Christopher.
Tom, I do just wanted to clarify that the Historical Commission did approve historical significance for both veterans and MacKenzie Field.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to make you aware of that.
That's my question, Tom, is because you didn't present for MacKenzie. What's the next step for that?
MacKenzie? Yeah, I'll just find something out of my budget and take care of that way.
Tom, do you want $10,000 or $2,000?
I need 2,000 would be the Korean War memorial. And then obviously we would cover the sign for CPA, and then that'd be it. I didn't put together a piece for MacKenzie because, like I said, I didn't hear that was the part that was approved. I did hear obviously this one was because it's a landmark, but which is all fine. Like I said, I'll go through our budget and see if we can take care of MacKenzie.
No,
Well,
but
if you can't, can you please come back to us?
Sure.
I mean, so I think it's not that we went through the process. I'm sorry, somehow there was a communication breakdown.
Yeah, no, all good. It happens.
And I want to make sure that that's still something that you can share with us because we've already looked at the eligibility application. You presented to Historic Commission. They wrote a report on both. So the consultant that we hired was able to look at the MacKenzie plaques, the MacKenzie field plaque as well as this one. So
Okay.
the committee has the information it needs in order to vote on both.
Okay.
So I'm wondering
yeah.
if you want to verbally amend the ask that it include both and be up to $10,000.
Yeah, I think it would probably be under 10,000 to be quite honest, for both. I think it was about 45 to 55 for the MacKenzie plaque. Just have someone come, who Chris Baker had referred to, a company. It's a Latin name. I'm going to butcher it. To come take it off, do their work, restore it, and then bring it back and then mount it again. So I just don't want to, I want to follow the rules and make sure that, I didn't put it on the presentation. So, I mean, I'd be more than happy to have it done. Be more than happy to do whatever you guys need for information. But I said, I did this one.
I guess I would say, like, given that I honestly do believe that it was a communication error, that it wasn't, and I don't think it was anyone's fault either. I just think it was whatever happened happened.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
If it's possible for you to submit a revised application that has what we expected to be in it from the eligibility application, because I know we need it in a document. But
I can have that done by tomorrow.
and then we can send it out to the committee.
I apologize for the confusion there on that one.
No, I don't. Yeah. Helene, your hand's up.
Yes, and I apologize. I'm off camera to everyone. I have some back pain, so I'm icing my back and laying down. But wanted to still participate. I felt like, I mean, I don't want to go on too long. We have a lot going on, but I felt like really compelled by what you said, and just to hear maybe a little bit more about sort of this idea of the parks and just your vision for the parks as more projects that you submit come to us, about how, like, having this standard for these monuments, to our veterans, what that says about Holyoke, what that says about our parks and our commitment to those who have served, and also to, like, having, that level of quality be there, and what that means for this park and other parks. So I felt like that was really compelling. And if you just wanted to talk a little bit more about that, that that it is to rehabilitate this particular monument, but also it sort of impacts the entire park, which I think is, really interesting. And I hadn't thought as much about it until you had mentioned that.
Yeah, in general, the Korean War, obviously, like I said, the work's been done on Lady Liberty, the Vietnam, the plaque with the Medal of Honor, or the headstone with the Medal of Honor winners. We have that park dedicated for this, and I just feel like we should have it be, at that high expectations of keeping it as best as possibly can, because I mean they give the ultimate sacrifice. So this just kind of getting up to speed with the rest in that park is huge. So that's the first and importance there. The other ones we do have. I mean, every park that's named in our city is after someone, whether they were military or other rankings of armed services, or work in this dealt with the city. So there's a lot, and going through the parks in my little tenure here, we have a lot of plaques on a lot of rocks that have seen better days because they've been there for so long. So there's a slew of them. It's just, I know MacKenzie because I was there a lot this past year, and he is a Medal of Honor winner, and it's the way it's mounted, the way it's set on a rock, it's flat, it acts like a bird bath. It's getting very tarnished. So that was the importance of that one. I grew up there at MacKenzie, so it's been there on that rock for a long time. So one, because it's an on the rock tripping hazard type deal, but two, we like to get it in a vertical position so you don't have to hover over it. You can walk by, you can kind of see it, pay your respect. again, we kind of go to that wall of fame in Yankee Stadium where they have all the predominant old Yankees on the wall. So we want to kind of have that in the back wall of MacKenzie with all of our baseball. And obviously it starts with MacKenzie Stadium with John MacKenzie, who it is named after. And, you know, like I said, he pretty crazy story with that, you know. So the least we can do is have a plaque that's nice, clean, and visible for people to see. So like I said, I can get any more information for the committee. I just, like I said, I was a little hiccup there, and I didn't know if I moved forward with presentation without knowing that I needed it, the okay, the approval from the commission and stuff like that. So.
All right, well, thank you, Tom. I really appreciate you coming, and send us more information for sure.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Welcome. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move next to our 1C presentation, Holyoke Veterans Graves Preservation. This is the $6,000 ask. And Wayne, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, all right, you're up.
Okay, let me see. I'm about the same way with the screen. Let me see if I can share it.
We believe in you.
Let's see.
Aha, we see it.
Do you see it there? Okay, I'm going to do the same thing that he did. I'm going to see if I can slow it down here just a minute. Can you still see it? Okay. This is for the Holyoke Veterans Graves Preservation Project. I'm the Holyoke Veterans Graves Officer. I think I'm the first one in the city of Holyoke. It was an appointment through Chapter 115. I've been doing it for about 2 years. And what I started off doing was trying to collect data for the veterans that were deceased in the city of Holyoke. There's a lot of paperwork. There are about between 10 and 12,000 veterans going back to the Revolutionary War that are buried around the city of Holyoke. In actuality, on Memorial Day, when we put out flags, we only put out about 4,000, just under 4,000 flags on the thing. So what I did to try and step up and make, as you can see, the headstone here is tilted, the plaque is tarnished. This is what we're going to be trying to preserve and do preservation work on. On project narrative, this request is to start the preservation of citizen veteran graves. This request is to encompass some of the approximately 80 veteran graves at the Elmwood Cemetery, which is under the purview of the Forestdale Cemetery Association. I believe I attached a letter from Forestdale that told them that they gave us permission and that they would work with us to do this work.
Yes, we got it.
Elmwood Cemetery is a historical site. This project will help provide our community with tangible evidence of the veterans from our community who have served to protect our country and our freedoms from its founding to today. It'll start with an examination of the veterans' graves to determine the level of preservation and restoration required. Minor preservation will be done by local veterans and seniors under the city's tax work-off program. And more involved restoration will be reviewed by certified headstone conservators and quoted for future work to be completed. Plaques that are provided free from the VA will be ordered for this installation to ensure that veterans are identified for the future, even if their headstones deteriorate. Installation will be completed by the Forestdale Cemetery Association at no cost. So they will install the plaques on the ground, like the one we saw in the previous picture. They'll do those for free, and they do a base for those. And any place that Forestdale does that has control of cemeteries, they will do that for us. There's a requirement to do more cleaning and minor restoration for the future that will be funded and supported by the city as required by Massachusetts general law, Chapter 115, What happened is I can go back to the city underneath this law, Chapter 115, and request money for future fundings. I'm only asking for $6,000 out of this project out of a, oh, get down here. I'm sorry, it didn't go. Okay, I'm sorry. Come on, does not want to go for me. I apologize. Come on. Oh, I'm trying to get this. I apologize, folks.
No worries, take your time.
I'm gonna stop. Does not want to.
There you go.
There we go. I'm sorry.
Oh.
The budgeting for this, as you can see, I've got stones throughout here, some pictures as we're going through this to show you the conditions of the different stones and what we'll be working on. The total project is about $13,500, just a little bit more than that. I'm only asking for $6,000. I can use out of the Veterans Services budget for this year. We can pull out the rest of the money that is required to do the job. We're just trying to get started this year. We couldn't do the whole project. A lot of the labor will be out of the tax work-off program. We'll get about 600 hours for the year. If I can get more of the tax write-off, work-off personnel to volunteer for that, we may get a few more hours, but we'll put in from June to November up to 600 hours of work on that. We'll do training the 1st of June with gravestone preservation, showing us how to recover the stone, or how to clean the stones using a solution, how to reset some of the stones that we can do, the older sandstone stones, headstones that are tilted or fallen. She will train us how to reset those. And then everything else. This is all the chemicals, cleaning, and everything else that we'll need. So that's the project there. And the timeline, once we know if we are awarded the funds, our first step will be to start purchasing supplies and working with the DPW to find a storage location for those. Like I said, personnel will be assigned from the tax work-off program in May, and training for the personnel will be done. Doing the work will be scheduled starting the first week of June. We'll walk Elmwood Cemetery with the conservators and locate all veterans' graves for evaluation of work to be done. From June through the end of the hours, provided the personnel up through November 30th, we will work on the graves that our training allows. And during this time frame, we'll work with the gravestone to determine what work needs to be done on gravestones outside of the capabilities of our personnel for future funding from the city. The project will be implemented in accordance with the City of Holyoke's purchasing policies and procedures, which adheres to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts statutes and the City of Holyoke ordinances. Project management, the Veteran Services Department is working in collaboration with the Forestdale Cemetery Association to implement this project. I'll be in charge of the project from this end. Accessibility requirements, the project will adhere to the ADA requirements outlined for historic sites. This project will not impact ADA requirements. The Historic Resources Preservation Project, this project will adhere to the necessary preservation standards as outlined in the training provided by the gravestone conservator, who complies with the U.S. Secretary of Interior standards for working with historic objects in accordance with the American Institute of Conservation Code of Ethics. As you can see, the graves in the background are the cemeteries and the headstones in the background. That's what we'll be attempting to fix and correct. You saw some headstones that are broken off of their base and need to be restored. There are a few of them in Elmwood. There are approximately 80. I'm not sure how many. This is our first project going through. I don't know how many graves we will get to. It will depend on the number of tax work-off personnel that we have and what the weather is like to work outside and where we can accept. That's my presentation. Questions for me?
Yeah, I do see a few hands, and I also want to name that we had, of course, when you presented at the Historic Commission, a formal report was then made by Taylor Kane, the consultant that was hired by the CPA to create the reports. And one of the things that they went through in terms of the CPA legislation was just making sure that all elements of the project was of any project are fully eligible given the CPA legislation. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we named from the report is that it says, based on the material that's presented and submitted on behalf of the project, the majority can be considered qualified uses of CPA funding. However, any items devoted to training or to the purchase and installation of new modern elements not linked to the historic condition of the original artifact should be excluded from the funding. So you have, of course, a larger budget here of $13,500. You're asking for $6,000. So it'll just be important for you to make sure that the funding that you are, asking for and submitting invoices for through Amy is just for the parts that are eligible under CPA funding.
Understood.
Okay, I see Michael Falsetti and then Jay Ferreira.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chairman. Wayne, this is not just an observation for labor to help out with the cleaning where it's possible. Is the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts in the Holyoke South Hadley area. I talked to them some years ago about this idea of them washing it. They were washing the stones actually in Veterans Park, and they were very interested. So if you like, Wayne, contact the Holyoke Girls.
I've actually underneath the American Legion, I'm working with the Council of Boy Scouts of America to bring Boy Scouts into Holyoke. So that would be, I have no problem. I know that there are more people out there that would be more than willing to volunteer hours to do this. This is a what I want to call a pilot project to try to learn. I've never done this type of work before, so we wanted to learn and not try to say, okay, we're going to cover the whole city, every cemetery. We wanted to start off with a small bite per se to find out what our scheduling should be for the future, how much I need to go to the city to ask for budgeting to make this happen, how much we can get volunteer, and how much I would probably have to budget to pay outside conservators for. But that's why it's such a small project at this point. I know I'm not going to get all 80 graves done in the cemetery of Elmwood. I hope to get about between 20 and 40 of them done with that amount, based on what my walkthrough with one conservator on budgeting and quoting. But yes, I'm more than willing. If you have people that want to come from South Hadley, the thing about it is South Hadley has their own veterans graves too. I'd rather use people within the city of Holyoke to do ours, but I will take anybody that wants to help me do this. If you take a look at all the veterans graves that are older graves from the War of 1812, and there's some of the Revolutionary War graves, they're made with sandstone. Some of the graves, you can't even read them. The only way we know that they're veterans is based on history and what they have wrote down for Elmwood. Does that answer your question? I'm sorry, I kind of walked.
It wasn't a question, Wayne. It was just an observation. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
Hands up.
I appreciate that you're thinking about how many folks you can bring in. I think the more the better, not just to get the graves done. It's a part of pulling the community in and understanding why the work matters and connecting with this entire process.
I was working, this is going back, and this is my other job as the commander from Post 325. We put out the memorial flags at St. Jerome every year. When I first started as the commander, first year that I was there, we had maybe 10 to 12 people. I now have about 30 to 40 people that showed up this last year to help us put out flags. You're right. If we can get help, it's great. As many people as we can. I'm trying to go through the Veteran Services has a Facebook page and that type of thing. I'm trying to put it out there as far as information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jay Ferreira.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to comment. I feel like this is such an outstanding project. I just like everything about it. Um, I feel like it's a very efficient program. I love how you seem very resourceful in getting as much done with whatever you have. And I just admire that. I just think it's you're building community, preserving history, honoring veterans in Holyoke, and it's just a great project. And I just want to thank you for your good work, and I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for presenting. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move to our next presentation. And the next three are all going to be presented by Sean Sheedy. Sean, how do you want to handle that? Do you want to sort of take it one at a time, or do you want to kind of run us through all three and then we'll talk? What makes the most sense for you?
Yeah, I think we'll just combine all three and then we can just break down the questions per per presentation. And that's fine. All right, we can just go through one. I can present the stained glass windows, answer some questions, and then present the granite stairs and the stone pillars. If that works for everybody. And
Yeah,
otherwise
that
it might
sounds
be
good.
too long. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. So why don't you start with the stained glass windows? So this is an ask for $200,000 for the Holyoke City Hall stained glass windows.
Okay, you guys can see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, yep, so this is City of Holyoke, the Department of Public Works, presented by me, Building Maintenance Supervisor for the City of Holyoke, and presenting the application of the restoration of several historic elements within the Holyoke City Hall and Annex building. So we're going to start with the stained glass windows, like we said. And so this picture here, this is from the outside of the stained glass windows. So this was taken a while ago, which I got offline, and it shows all the windows in place. And as you can see their beauty there. And so the one on the right here, the far right, where the cursor is going to be one of them that would be getting restored. These inner three, they're already done. And as we go through the other pictures, I'll show you the rest of them. So as of right now, the project summary, this project is to restore the remaining stained glass windows in City Hall as an ongoing effort to complete all the original windows in the ballroom. So the two figurative windows, 1 and 5, those are the larger ones. I'll show you right here. That's going to be these here on the left and on the right. Those are the two remaining large figurative ones that would be getting done. And then the upper lancet and quadrifoil of window 13, which is going to be these two uppers here. These two, the lowers were the last ones that were done on the last CPA cycle. So that would be these two here getting done as part of this application. And then windows number 6 and 7 are all unfinished. So the only thing on that is I don't have a picture of those. Those are on the south side of the building, and they're very similar to this upper quadrant ones, except that they are individual on the south side wall, left and right. They're not together, but they are similar to that look and size. So all of them are unfinished and created as previous phases of this project. The project would be bid with bid alternates and could be scaled based on available of funding. The figurative windows 1 and 5 are estimated at 140,000. Window 13 uppers at 25,000. Windows 6 and 7 at 20,000, and 15,000 for professional services, for a total of 200,000. So the project status is this project is a step towards fully restoring the City Hall ballroom as a city treasure. It is used for the inauguration of city elected officials, which we just had. Congratulations, Meg. Social gatherings, weddings, birthdays, parties, etc. A few years ago, Senator Elizabeth Warren held a town hall meeting in the ballroom. In more recent months, the 150th dedication of City Hall was held in the ballroom with the other restored stained glass windows on display for all to see. So, like I said, these are the current remaining ones. These are the two large ones, and then the two smaller ones above on the north side. And this is potentially what they could look like when they're completed and they're completely done. And so as you can see, the paint here, we match the paint to match what the interior paint has already been done. And then the same is on the exterior with the gray paint. I just used my color match tool, and working with the consultant, we figured out the best color to move forward to have the interior and the exterior match the rest of the other stained glass windows. So that's it for the windows.
This would be, complete this sort of multi-year stage out of all of these windows, yes?
Yes, so this will be the final phase. This is it. If we go for all of them, if say we go for the 200,000 and we do all of them, all the stained glass windows in City Hall will be fully restored and completely done.
Okay, thank you. Other questions from the committee? This is a project that we're very familiar with because we've seen it in stages, right? But then we might have some specific questions. I see Nathan's hand and then Chris Gothier.
Thank you. I was always curious about these types of stained glass projects. I mean, these are very high value, but also they can be shattered or through accident or intentionally. Are there any protective measures to protect them from being shattered?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. So as part of the technical specifications for the construction documents, the consultant has it where on the exterior, there is a laminated glass that goes up, so you can't throw rocks at it, it can't be shattered. Now, on the interior, the only thing that what happens is there's these bars are replaced in here. As you see so often, you can see them, they're like every foot or so. And those bars are replaced to hold up structurally a lot better than what these are. These are a lot softer and they have a tendency to bend and everything. But so the protection is mostly from the outside, and then the interior gets, like I said, it gets rebuilt with newer angle and metal per the code, or excuse me, per the historic consultant's recommendations on how to restore the windows correctly. So as of right now, they're all fully created. Before my time, they were created very carefully with plastic and bubble wrap and plywood boxes. And the only time they get unpackaged is when we do a pre-bid walkthrough. All of the contractors come in, I lay them out on the floor, they take a look, they take their notes, and then as soon as they're done, I box them all back up, and then they get put away safely until the company that gets awarded the project, they come and I work with them and my guys to get them loaded up carefully. And once the company takes them away, they own them, and there's liability in there and clauses that cover us on if something were to happen. There's insurances to make sure that we get them back as promised through the contract.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Chris Gothier and then Mary Moriarty.
Yeah, Sean, just really quick, speaking of the 150th Gala and the Friends of City Hall, their donation with the auction, have you heard anything, an amount coming forth to you?
No, I have not. I did hear something, but I don't know exactly how much it was and or how that would be spent, or the availability of it for this project or for myself. So if something could be that we could alleviate some funds from CPA and use some of that towards this, say for the consultant or something to that effect, where you're having a couple different buckets of money. When you're invoicing and stuff, that would be a procurement question and a question for you guys, invoicing wise and how to requisition against that, creating POs and everything. But we can discuss it more if that is an option, if those funds would be available to use towards this project.
Mary?
Yes. I wanted to ask, will you still be using the Julie Sloan company?
Yes, correct. So Julia's on board. I already had a Zoom meeting with her. She has submitted her proposal to me. It is at the $15,000 mark, and that gets us through bidding, construction administration, all the way from start to finish throughout the project.
Thank you.
Back to Christopher.
Meg, can Joseph, the vice chair, ask a quick question as well? Is that okay? He's in the
Absolutely.
audience. Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
Joseph.
suspend the rules to let him speak.
Hi, all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I just wanted to comment on the silent auction. I was the co-chair of the 150th gala. I do believe we brought in a little under $10,000 from the silent auction. I'm not sure what that agreement was, or as Sean said, how that money could be spent, but I just wanted to say that was the amount that I believe we brought in. And it was specifically raised for the restoration of the stained glass windows. So, thanks.
Yes. Thank you. So one of my next questions is, and Joseph, if you don't mind responding, what's our next step
sure.
in terms of getting more information on that?
That is a very good question, and something I am actually currently working on, because even as the co-chair of the gala, I have not been given a final amount as to how much we raised from the silent auction. I think that's all I'm going to say at the moment, but I am working on finding out what the exact amount was.
Okay, thank you. And we'll definitely be looking for that information, because we can always do a reduced amount in terms of what we're moving forward if the committee approves the project, if the funding is not needed in total.
Great. Yeah, I just do want to say I am not officially on the Friends of City Hall. I was just kind of brought in as the co-chair of the gala. So I've kind of been left out of some of those conversations, but I will do my best to try to find out.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for all of you helping to organize the gala. It was a wonderful event.
Thank you to everyone who attended. Thanks.
Mary, did you have another question, or was that the only question you had?
No, I'm sorry. I thought I hung up.
Okay.
Sorry. Is it still up there? No. Okay, good.
I love that you said hung up. Okay. All right. Thank you. Sean, why don't you move to the next one on the City Hall granite steps?
Yeah, okay, so for this one, as you guys know, I kind of changed my application last minute. And I basically, what I'd like to do for the granite steps and for the City Hall Annex pillars is I'd like to go for a feasibility study first. I have a proposal from a designer. It's Architecture EL, Marco Crescenti and Kevin Rothschild. They've worked with us on other projects here in the city. Marco was part of the Historic Commission. So you guys are, I'm assuming, familiar
and the CPA.
with him.
Yeah, we know Marco Crescenti well.
So I work with Marco on a lot of projects here in the city. He's great to work with. So his team gave me a proposal for that, and I'll get into that as more into the presentation. And so for this, what it was as I started doing more homework and diving into it, I have no way of creating bid documents or technical specifications or construction documents or any type of construction administration for this restoration of the granite stairs and or the pillars. So the very first step is going to be a feasibility study. So we'll talk about that now. So the project summary, basically, what I'm asking for this application is this phase of the project will involve a feasibility study of the granite stairs, railings, on the Dwight Street side of Holyoke City Hall and the Annex stone pillars. He's willing to combine both of them because it makes more sense to just combine both of them. There wasn't, instead of breaking it down and having like a smaller fee for the stone pillars and then the larger fee for the granite steps, they're willing to just have it all as one, and then but that information would be broken down into the two identified areas. So this critical information that is obtained from performing a feasibility study is to both fully understand the scope and the cost of the actual restoration. This study is the first phase and will give us the information so that we can move on to the next phase in the next CPA cycle, fiscal year 25. The cost of the proposal is $25,150. So a little bit of normally, as you guys know, normally a study is a percentage of an actual total estimated cost of a project. So if this proposal for this study is coming in at around $25,000, the overall cost to do both of these projects is going to be around $250,000. So it's a good indication of the total cost of the project. But obviously we'll know more details about that once they dive into it and everything. So the study would include a historical review of architectural, structural investigations, and cost estimating services for repair and replacement alterations to the City Hall North Entry stair repairs and the City Hall Annex North and East entry portals. So the proposal is a lot more in detail what they're proposing to give us, because basically this being this first step with the proposal gets us to the next phase, where we still would need to have a designer come in, which say we hire Architecture EL because they did the study. We still have to have them come in and give us the design documents, the bid documents, the construction administration, and everything that goes along with it. But at least with this study, like I said, it's the first phase and the first step in fully understanding this project and everything that we would need next fiscal cycle. So the proposed staircase has significant historic value to the building that it serves. The public uses the staircase and is critical to the daily functions of City Hall and serves as one of the main entryways into the building. The railings that are attached to the stairs are in desperate need of restoration. The railings must be removed and reinstalled to restore the stairs for this project. And so these are the stairs now. You can see a lot of the damaged conditions where it's lifting, spalling. The railings have so deteriorated and rusted beyond repair that we would have to cut this bottom off, weld in new pieces, epoxy, and figure out a way to acid etch or clean the stairs correctly without damaging them, and then reset all the stairs and remortar them. And even up top, I don't have pictures of the uppers, but in the uppers, I'm assuming that we would have to match a granite that could be close enough where we were going to remove these and then reinstall ones of historic nature. So let's keep on here. So here are the pillars. As you can see down at the bottom, the pillars, these are a limestone, so it's a soft stone, and just with ice melt and rock salt and over time, and even the squirrels try and get in here, and rodents and stuff. So they've eaten away at it. The good thing about this is that there is a mortar seam about 3 feet up. So we actually could cut this out and replicate this to restore them to look just like the remainder of the upper portions. But obviously all that would come from the study from them and give us a clear understanding of what can be done and what it would take to get that done. And then the annex, the pillars is the same as project summary as the granite stairs. It's basically the proposal for the feasibility study, and the pillars, they flank the entrances to the annex to the building. They're deteriorating at the base, allowing water and pests to get in behind them in the walls of the building, and the public can see this as they enter the building. So here's some more pictures up close of them, and you guys can see that it is very deteriorated. You can actually see the interior framing of the building. And here's the the other side of it. Okay, that is it for that.
I noticed in the application and it asks originally for 30,000, but here it says 25,150. So is that the new ask?
Yeah, because at that time when I was putting everything together, I just said over the phone, I said, back of the envelope, what can you give me? And he said, estimated, he said 30,000, and that's because I had to get my application in by the deadline. And then a few days later, they were able to get me the proposal, a written proposal, full document that I attached to my actual application.
Thank you. Michael, you have a question?
Yeah, Sean, looking at item E and item F, item E is $75,000 and item F is $20,000. With what you've said tonight, as I understand it, both those figures are no longer valid because you're going to use a duplicate study of 25,150 to do the studies for both. So
correct.
$5,000 is out and the $20,000 is no longer part of either proposal. Is that correct?
So correct. And because those were estimates that I came up with from getting some quotes from some masons, but as in bid procurement and bid documents comes, there's all kinds of questions that you get. RFIs are out there, and you need an actual designer to take the project by the lead and have everything on documentation, from bid documents to technical specifications to construction administration to historic documents and everything. So none of that, like I said, those were just some quotes that I had, but to properly do this job here for the granite stairs and for the pillars, you have to first do the study. First, the study gets us the understanding, and then from there, we can create the bid documents and the construction documents and the designer services as part of the next cycle.
No, that's fine, Sean, that's fine. I just wanted to know, the 25,150, that's for the study.
Correct.
Now, the next step is the bid documents. So that's an additional cost. Would that be correct?
Yes. So once we have the study, after that, that would be the first piece. The next piece would be bringing the designer back on, the architect, and with all the consultants, structural, historic, and they would fully write the bid documents and help us out for bid procurement, and then for
okay, no, that's fine. Is that part of the 200? Is that part of the approximately $250,000? Is that included in that 250?
Yeah, that would be part of it. Yep.
So the 250 as an estimate is going to include the preparation of the bid documents, overseeing the purchasing and the installation. So we have two amounts: 25,150, which is the study, and then we have the 250, which is the preparation of the bid documents and the actual work.
Right, and that wouldn't be this cycle. That would be next.
No, that's okay.
Next.
So this cycle, you want 25,150. That's it.
Yep.
Okay, and then for FY25, you're going to be looking at 250 to do the actual work.
Right. Yeah. Once we get the study back from them and have a full scope and understanding, they'll lay all that out in their study. It'll give us the cost estimate for every single part of the project, from bid documents to designer services to construction administration, technical specifications, the cost of the granite, whatever would be involved as part of the next phase will be laid out in the study.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Sean? Okay, thank you so much for presenting. And excited to see all these municipal projects come forward. We have a lot of a backlog of serious work to do.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm happy that Architecture EL is on board. Julie Sloan is on board again. So having those two great consultants is a huge help for us in the city, and having them to help us through the whole projects.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming in, Sean. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move to our last presentation of the evening, and this is 1G, the Holyoke Merry-Go-Round Stirrup Replacement Project. Susan, are you here?
I am. I'm trying to figure
Ah.
out how to put myself on again. It's been a while since I've done this. Hi, how are you?
There you are.
Hi. Amy and Megan, I had a panic attack this morning and now we can ignore my panic attack. Very
Okay.
quickly, the $7,000 that I thought could be put on tonight couldn't, because it did end up getting paid. There was a miscommunication, and that goes back to the original when you told us anything that's paid cannot be asked for. So we are back to the original, if I can remember how to share. And I forget how to do it. I go to share screen and then, oh, okay, I've got it. I am so sorry. I have
No
everybody.
worries.
All right, I think we're right here. Come up you. I did this for a whole year and now I forget how to do it. Okay, so our project is encompasses the replacement of all 48 stirrups on our horses. We had a safety inspection last fall, and it was just in passing that the inspector mentioned that the stirrups were no longer safe. It hasn't become a regulation yet within the state of Massachusetts, but he said he really felt it was coming. So we, as a board, decided to go ahead and see what we could do to replace them. This is the old stirrup. As you can see, there's a better picture up ahead, but the top is rounded, which was so close to the horse when children's feet went on there, and they often went one and then one more, they were getting stuck within the top of the stirrup and the horse. This was Metalman out of Chicopee helped us to create this new prototype. And then once it's high gloss finish, this is what it looks like. This is the pictures of how close the stirrups were coming to the top of the horse. And I've got everybody's faces in my way over here. Oh, that's still there. I believe it's the next slide. Here's the old and the new. So the old one has the roundness. You can see how it was even more, if you were there and you put your foot there, you would see just how close the foot was to the top of the horse. This one has almost made another step, so that as children go up, they've got the one step, the two steps, and then they've got like another step to get them onto the top of that horse there. And oops, that's, I thought I'd show you a slide of what you are all helped us with. This is Lancelot, brand new. This is what he looks like. If you haven't had a chance to get there, you want to get down there and see him. But anyway, so at our safety inspection, we were told that it was the present stirrups posed a hazard. It was possible that a new regulation would be passed soon. So, these would be banned. Because of that, the board decided to take immediate action. We found a vendor. These were what we came up. I have, and I didn't see it just now. Let me see if I can find it up here. All right, now I'm really messing up. I have the why are you in my way? There we are. The budget, it's coming. All right. I created the budget within the the grant proposal. This would be what a Metalman were asking for, the 31,200. We ordered and paid for the 14,325. Part of that was from your grant from the 4 horses, which is shown right here. The other part, this original here is where I got messed up. We paid the 2,500 and the 4,600, and then we had this as a balance due, and I had asked if we could just hold off on that and possibly not pay it until after tonight, and there was a miscommunication, so that was paid. So we are back to asking for $16,875 for the remaining 27 horses at $625 a horse.
Okay. All right, any questions? Jay Ferreira. I think you're on mute.
There we go. Thank you. Just one question. You may have touched on this. This will do all the rest of the horses will be all set and compliant with this amount. Is that just
Yes, yes, it will.
okay? Awesome. Thank you so much. That's all.
Michael.
Susan, when your discussions with the inspector, did he happen to say that, oh, by the way, Susan, we're expecting within a year, January 2025, that those new regulations will come into place and these have to be done prior to that? Did you get a certain feel that, look, you guys, you're going to have to do it, get it done now because within a year, or is it 2 years, it will be the law and be no, either shut the place down or you're going to have to change it. Did he give you any kind of a date to get this done by with the new regulations he thinks coming into effect?
I don't believe he did. I didn't ask this specific question, but I know it was after he was signing, saying, okay, you're all set. Oh, by the way, those stirrups are causing a safety hazard and some children have been hurt in them. And it looks like the regulations are going to change. So it was that kind of a comment. And when we, Jay came back to the board to explain to us what had happened, we just felt, due to the fact of the safety issue, maybe we should jump on board and get it done right away, regardless of whether they come out with it as a regulation or not. We wanted more safe. We went and looked at Sunny's place, and there's a newer, I don't know how to put that, up in Salisbury. And they both have the newer type stirrups on. So we realized that it was the way to go since they're really pushing their safety with them.
So this is a federal mandate, in other words?
I think our federal inspection is out of Massachusetts, but I would have to look that up. It could be federal. I'm not positive there. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No problem. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Helene.
Hi. Just very briefly, from what I'm hearing though is that in many ways the board's main concern was to hear that there had been some accidents or kids had gotten hurt, and that that there's this sort of standard that would ensure across the board that kids would be who use the merry-go-round would be safer, and so that the regulations is obviously a big issue in terms of staying open and wanting to get ahead of that. But this is a safety concern that is why the board has acted so quickly, because your whole focus is on bringing joy to kids and making sure that's a safe, fun activity.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that it's not just about regulation. I think it's about hearing about there have been accidents in the past and wanting to be preventative. Okay. All right, Susan, thank you so much for presenting. Really appreciate you and all of your work, and it was so exciting being able to recently go to the merry-go-round and see Lancelot in action and the new horses that are starting to come back that were restored, and they're beautiful. I think it's important to understand the value of these horses and this asset in our city and to maintain it.
Yeah, the amount of work or the restoration that was completed on Lancelot is amazing. So if you get a chance, come see. The saddle looks leather as you're looking at it. The painted job actually makes it look like it's leather. So it really is just an amazing work.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Susan, if you want to stop sharing screen.
Yeah, if I can remember how. Hold on a second. I've lost everything. All right, well, I'll go down here.
There we go.
Did you do it for me? Thank you.
I wasn't going to take credit. I was going to be like, yes, Susan.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so just wanted to create space in case there is anyone from the public who wants to speak to any of the projects. You have the capacity to do so now. We're moving into number 2, public comment concerning any historic project applicants or priorities, and then we'll move into 3 other. Is there any member from the public who wants to speak concerning historic projects or priorities? Okay, Amy, have you had any communications on your end that anyone wants to speak?
Not through the chat here. I'll just briefly check my work email. No, I don't see anything there either.
Okay, all right, then I'm going to move to number 3, which is other. Under other, the piece that I just wanted to name is where we go next from here, and then we have to name our next meeting and then plan backwards from that. So by our next meeting, we need to all self-score the applications. So I will briefly show the scoring guides to remember to remind everyone. And then within the internal CPA page, there will be a link that will pop up. That will be a Google form where you will be able to go in and you will score for each one on the rubric how you scored that project. What that allows us all to do is pre-score the projects. And when we come to the meeting, we can open up that file and we can see collaboratively how we scored projects. It's the easiest way we've found to go through projects quickly because we take the ones that were highest scoring first. And we discuss it on its merits and then decide if we want to fund it or not. And then, of course, eventually you run out of funding. And then those are the projects you cannot fund. So that's our homework as a committee, is go back through the applications with the scoring guide and score them. I'm gonna project the scoring guide really quick and just go over it for the committee because we do have some new folks or folks who have maybe only done this once, right? So let's go over it one more time. And then we will make sure that Amy emails the committee too, to make sure you know that the scoring guide is up. You can go in and score projects. The other thing we have to talk about is the meeting date, because I love you all and I don't mind meeting on Valentine's Day. But that is our next meeting date and time. So 6 o'clock, dinner, you and me. This could be what we're doing. But others might feel like they have some intense plans. So I just didn't want to assume. I wanted to ask the committee, are we okay still meeting on our regular second Wednesday, which is the 14th? Or would we want to reschedule to another Wednesday? Can't do the 21st because that's the Board of Health meeting, which we ran into today. But we could, for example, do the 28th, or we could do the 7th. Other thoughts? We okay with the 14th?
Yeah, what's wrong? If it's Valentine's Day, how appropriate will be selecting to give somebody a Valentine, in a manner of speaking.
To the city of Holyoke.
Yeah.
As it were. Okay, Jay Ferrer, what were you gonna say?
Nothing actually.
You're just here for the comments.
Yep.
Okay, so we're okay on the 14th.
Yes.
It says something about us.
Well, I would rather it was on a different day.
Okay.
Not just because of Valentine's Day, but something else. And I was thinking it might also give the committee a little more time to score, you know, if it was say on the 28th, just for example.
Yeah, it's not ideal because of where ordinance now falls for me. So ordinance now falls on Wednesdays, and it looks like it's going to be scheduled always on the 1st and 4th Wednesday. So I would prefer to keep it on the 14th, but if we can't meet on the 14th, then I would try to make it work, and maybe somebody else could chair that meeting, or I could only come for part of it and then be at ordinance the other half. Mary?
Okay, there are 2 applications that are going to have additional information. I mean, I'm thinking there are, I'm not sure, but so Tom Reynolds talked about or mentioned MacKenzie. So what will we do about that? Will we all get an email about that, or is he coming back? And secondly, I was hoping for more specifics on the park application. I was hoping he was going to present something on that. So I think that's part of our decision making on what date to have this.
So I think that my thinking about the MacKenzie piece is that it just needs to come in as a separate application at this point. And then we can review that on our own timeline. Like, we have the capacity to take an application out of timeline if we want to, right? And it's $8,000. It's not going to be a significant amount of money in terms of what we have in the budget. That's my thinking, because we have to wait to see what comes in, and then we'll have to look at it in a upcoming meeting. And the Jones Point Park master plan, Tom and I met on Friday for about an hour and walked through the tie and bond quote, and then effectively went line by line around, like, what can we do in-house versus what are we going to secure a quote for, so we actually know the real costs if we're not using tie and bond. And he's pursuing those quotes. And I think this is the timeline that we have and that all projects have, right? So I feel like he's going to do his best to get in what he can to us. And we'll go from there. You know, some years we've been able to vote every project in a single meeting. That hasn't always been the case, right? Sometimes we have done as many as we can, and then we've hit a point of, like, let's stop there, you know, and let's pick it up again in the next month. And then we finish it in March.
All right, well,
different ways. Yeah.
Two things. First of all, then if he does get in something new, could you please somehow notify us to go and look for it? And
it can be
the other
emailed
thing,
to the committee so that people have it.
Okay, and the other thing is then with what you said, then I guess it doesn't influence timeline at all.
We have control of our timeline, right? So I think if we feel like we can vote on all of the projects, we can do that on the meeting on the 14th. And if not, then we can always say, let's stop here. Let's leave enough funding that we could fund this project if we want to. Let's not vote on it. Let's just look at the additional information that has come in since, and we will vote on it in March. Or we can have a one item agenda to take it up at another, shorter meeting time. Okay. I want to show the scoring guide really quick and just see if there's any questions about it.
I had a comment, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
So I definitely don't, I know, like, these are all really important questions logistically, and so I think everyone is being great, and I don't mean to I don't know, to imply anyone said anything that was a problem. Of course, when I say it that way, people are like, oh my goodness, what is she gonna say? But I just wanted to just point out that in terms of the Jones Point project, that, like, literally it was just like a matter, I feel like, of weeks ago when there was the community meetings and getting all of that information for the study. And I know that for Tom, it just felt like, it was important to get an application in to us so that things could get going as soon as possible, even though, it just, the turnaround time from getting that to coming up with, application for us was very, very, very short. And that, that choice was made so that, that park wouldn't have to wait another year. So I just wanted to just name that, if that's okay, that I think that's part of why some of that information was not as solid as just this interest in getting something to us. Whereas, you know, if that didn't happen, then our funding cycle starts next year, and just wanting to make sure these parks get the attention they need as soon as possible.
Yes, no, thank you for that context. It's important. So the scoring criteria for each project, we'll look at goals alignment, and that's tied to our community preservation plan, which was drafted in 2018. So is there strong alignment with our CPC goals and priorities? And I can find that and bring that up too, just to put it back in front of us. And I'll make sure that it's on the internal page, and I'll also email it out. Benefit to the city, right? So what is the benefit? Is this going to be benefited, you know, by some people, right? By many people, by a real cross section of folks? Is it going to improve overall citizens' quality of life and or expand the city's tax base? Public support, you know, that has to do with, are there letters of support that come with this? Are you aware of widespread support for this project? Supporting documentation. So, you know, have they really done their due diligence? Do they have documentation? Do they have estimates? Do they have detailed explanations, right? Do they have a way to move forward with what they're asking for us, you know, to fund? Project feasibility. So a 4, excellent, is the applicant has demonstrated capacity and has obtained the approvals, funding, or other resources so that with CPA funding, the project is ready to proceed within a reasonable timeframe. Sources of funding. So an excellent is CPA fills a partial funding gap or provides a local funding match that would not otherwise be available, enabling a project which leverages funds from other sources. So the highest scoring in that category is when CPA funding is not the only source of funding, but it's being matched by other funding sources, or is being used to, you know, really leverage a lot of additional funding sources to come into the city. And then restrictions and contractual processes. The applicant is knowledgeable and willing to follow requirements, restrictions, guidelines of the Department of the Interior, and contractual processes. Now, to my knowledge, none of our historic projects this year would require a preservation restriction, yes? Because they're all city land, or in the case of the merry-go-round, they had requirements put on them by the state when they were given that land in Heritage Park. Amy?
Yeah,
you end up about the preservation restrictions?
I think that's accurate. I think that's accurate, but I really have to go back and look through it more carefully.
The ones that would need a restriction on the conservation side, but not the conservation side, the affordable housing side, Wayfinders, and or Win development, right, would have to show that they have done their due diligence around setting it up as an affordable housing property. And they would need to undergo a restriction on that. Okay. Any questions about the scoring guide? Yes, Mary.
I'm sorry to be bothering you about this again, but
That's okay.
on Sean Sheedy's application, I'm not sure what we're going to be scoring.
You're gonna be, yeah, so
because
that
we don't have anything on, do we have anything on paper for the 25-150?
let me see. I'm pulling it up now. Yeah, so the application that was put in is for feasibility study. So it was updated.
So just that one, not the other two.
Yes, so in lieu of the 2 original projects, because as soon as they got into the work, they realized that it was going to cost way more money, right, than they thought it would. And so they are instead putting in for a feasibility study so that it'll be able to put it out to bid, because it's such a complex project that they wouldn't have been able to really get, you know, feasible estimates, because they need to do the feasibility study first. So,
all right,
yeah.
so we just ignore the other two and just do that one. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so right now, if you go into the FY24 CP applications spreadsheet, the only thing in there is now the feasibility study and that
Oh.
application.
Okay.
Okay. Michael.
Madam Chairman, this is just for all of us, I suppose. To be clear, the amount of money we have to spend for FY24 is $977,687. Is that correct?
Say that one more
I'm
time.
getting this from this is from the minutes of January 10th meeting, item 4. You described that what we got for a base, the tax levy rollover from last year, minus the administration budget. And this says this gives us approximately $977,687 for all three categories. I just wanted to make sure that figure is fairly accurate.
Yes, and when Amy and I spoke about it, Daniel has been Koff, the financial consultant, has been going through and reconciling. And I think that there may be $8,000 more than we initially thought when he started doing that, but it's very close.
Well, would you say if we use for a figure of $980,000 for us to spend, would that be okay as a budget?
I mean, we definitely have the 1.2. We just have maybe $8,000 more than that in terms of the work that Daniel's been doing to reconcile every invoice.
I just want to be clarification now. You have an administrative budget. You had 1,029,145. And then there's the administrative budget of $36,000 and gives us, and I'm reading here, this gives us approximately $977,687,000. Would that be about right, the amount of money we can spend for FY24?
Hold on. I'm just doing my math. Yeah. No, that's
Okay.
accurate.
So if we said $980,000 is what we have in our wallets for FY24 would be correct.
Yeah, I mean, we have 990. But yeah. I mean, we've never wanted to spend that close to the line.
No, that's okay. I
We've
just wanted
always
to.
wanted to leave some money in case someone comes with an emergency application, right? Like there's always been something that we've left behind.
No, that's okay. No problem. It's a good idea. It's a good way to budget. I just wanted to make sure all of us know what we have in our wallets when we go to score and judge these things. That's all. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay.
Amy has your hand, Joe.
Yeah, I know.
No.
Sorry.
Can I speak?
Yeah, sorry. I was looking at my calendar based on your question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry that I can't do it the 14th, but I know that I've been available every single other time. So I hope that, the committee and chair can understand that, sometimes, there are other conflicts that can't be averted. And I've been very, very busy with preparing lots of paperwork for the city auditor and so forth and doing a lot of different tasks right now, including making sure we still have the Zoom subscription and the Sign Now subscription. So I didn't look ahead to see what day the meeting falls on. So
I think it's an emergency that we take care of Manu Chopra.
I'm here, but you guys are welcome to come.
Please
in my
remove. Can someone please remove Manu?
Yep.
Thank you.
Sorry, when you said emergency and handle, I didn't know what you meant. I was like, is this a member of the public speaking? Like, I didn't know. Thank you very much.
Hey, Mayor, thanks.
Sorry, my mistake. I let him in. I shouldn't do that.
It's okay.
Apologize.
These things
Okay.
happen. Amy, so sorry, because Amy, all of my city council meetings are just being established now. It's hard because I know where some of them are, but there are things I don't know yet. Like everyone is just starting to name where their meetings are. So that's why I'm actually not sure. It's not anything personal. It's just trying to make sure, especially because it's a scoring meeting, I think it's important that I'm there as the chair. And so I'm not sure the 2 dates that you sent me by chat, I'm not sure I'm available. Let's for now name the meeting as February 14th, and it may not be possible for you to be there, and that's okay. Like I know there was a meeting last year, right? That's okay. These things happen, right? But I'm not sure I can do either of the other 2 dates that you put forward. And I'm sorry, I didn't know. If I had known ahead of time, I could have looked at everything, talked to people, and sort of had an answer. But I know we have to name this before we get off the meeting. So let's name that for now as the 14th, which means that in the coming days, we'll make sure that we follow up to the committee with the scoring guide, with the link so that you know where to score the projects. And then we'll meet on the 14th to score them. I think if we do our homework ahead of time, we score the projects, the project process goes pretty well. Especially because we're going to go from the top with the ones that we are scoring the highest. So I would also say that folks just come ready to say, here's why I support this project, right? And we'll go from there. Okay, I will make sure that I send out that information, and we'll also make sure it's on the internal page. And then if anything else comes from Tom Reynolds, we will send that as well. Okay, all right, any others?
Yeah, I submitted the minutes in advance of getting them thoroughly edited by my resident editor. And so there are a number of errors, as you may have noticed if you read them. For example, the date is last year's. And I left off a person's name. I think his name was Ehrlich, and we have a blank next to it. And there's a number of other little bits. So a lot of other little bits. So anyway, I will fix that and send a new copy.
Okay, no worries. Yes, and we'll take it up as one of the agenda items in the next meeting. Okay, all right. Thank you, everybody.
Well, thank you.
Okay, February 14th, Madam Chairman?
Yes. All
Okay,
right, motion to
thank you.
adjourn?
Yes, second.
All right. Thank you,
Good night,
everybody.
everyone.
Good night.
Yeah, night.
Good night.